Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Reserved Investments. For the record, none of the items that I am currently holding up on camera meet the definition of being rare. Now, I'm sure a lot of the Pokemon collectors that watch my content, they're right now agreeing with me. This is simply a booster pack, a sealed booster pack, from the coveted Modern Era Pokemon set known as Evolving Skies. For those of you that know Pokemon collecting, you know that Evolving Skies is one of the in-demand Modern Era Pokemon sets. When a booster box of Evolving Skies is listed on eBay, it routinely sells at present time for roughly $300 to $400. But make no mistake, it is not rare. It can't ever be considered rare because there's too many out there in existence. The item is in demand. It is not rare. Now, let's talk about this other unique item that I am holding up. Believe it or not, this was produced in the late 1800s. Now, what you may not know, this particular item was mass-produced in the late 1800s. There were millions of these particular items created back then. Now, if you don't know what this is a target ball. Believe it or not, this was created to be destroyed. This particular item would be launched into the air, and people who engaged in target shooting, they would take aim at this and they would attempt to destroy it. This was the item that was used to shoot at before the creation of the clay pigeon, if you know what that is. These are not rare in most cases. There are a couple of examples out there that are highly sought after, and they are considered scarce on the secondary market. This particular item is not rare by any stretch of the imagination. If I consign this to a glass auction house, an auction house that specializes in bottles and glassware, this particular item on a good day would bring anywhere from $200 to $250. On a bad day at auction, this particular item would sell for anywhere from $150 to $175. That's it. And remember, guys, this particular item was created in the late 1800s. Please do not equate rarity or age with that of value. These are all independent variables. Mass-produced items can never, ever be rare. In the words of Collectibles expert Harry Rinker, I'm going to tell you what he wrote on the concept of rarity before we go any further. If it was mass-produced, it is not rare. If it is handmade, it is not necessarily rare. Rare is the most misused word in the entire antiques and collectibles trade. The survival rate for objects exceeds the projections of even the most optimistic members of our trade. Scarcity is a better word choice. Rare survives because of its false connection to value. Remember that key point. We're going to come back to that in a minute. In the 21st century, desirability, in-demand items are the key to value. Condition and scarcity are now key secondary value determinants. In today's great, whatever you call it, economic times, if there is no buyer, there is no value. Since several years have passed since I did an eBay advanced search for the term rare, I recently did one. Now keep in mind, guys, this particular article that I'm quoting from is several years old. As a result, if you would repeat this experiment, you're going to get a plethora of search results that are going to come back and make this number pale in comparison. Rare appears in over 700,000 listings on eBay. Rare should be banned from use in the overall antiques and collectibles trade. It is another meaningless word. Harry Rinker goes on to say in another article that he wrote about the concept of rarity, in a mass production world, the surviving quantity of any object almost always exceeds its secondary market demand. Always remember, guys, if you want to make money in the antiques and collectibles trade, the whole objective is to simply take an item that is in demand and sell into the hype. It is not to buy items that are in demand while they're at their all-time highs. A lot of you guys got burnt badly during the COVID pandemic because you didn't take my advice. During that particular point in time, I was selling a shit ton of items into the market trying to capture all those high prices that were being achieved. And I'm going to tell you guys something, and a lot of you are going to hate me for this. You aware in the last 4 years, due primarily to the COVID pandemic, I literally doubled my entire net worth just because I was selling items into the hype at that particular point in time. And I was taking that money and I was putting it in items or other asset classes that were selling at a discount. That's how I make my money. I do not invest in reverse. A lot of you guys come into these markets and you see everyone buying Pokemon cards. You see everyone going after the high-end side of vintage comic books, and you guys follow suit. Or somebody comes on YouTube and they tell you, hey, you know what you need to do? You need to go out and you need to buy modern era factory sealed booster boxes of Pokemon, of Magic the Gathering, of Flesh and Blood, and you need to put them in a closet, and in 10, 20 years, they're going to be valuable. Here's the problem. Everybody's doing that. What are you doing that's so unique? What are you doing where you're going to be guaranteed to make money on that item when everybody else is putting those items away and waiting for the day that they become worth money? That's what happened during the junk wax era of sports cards. That's what happened with modern comic book speculation back in the early 1990s. You see how that turned out. Well, right now, in the year 2024, we have mass speculation in collectible card games and the like. Case in point, I recently uploaded a video to YouTube entitled Pokemon Collector Asks How Much to Pay for a First Edition Blaine's Charizard holofoil card in PSA 10 condition. In that video, I try to show you guys just how volatile the Pokemon collectible card market is. And I picked this particular card in particular because it's a coveted vintage WotC Wizards of the Coast era card. And in PSA 10 condition, prices are all over the place, and people still think it's safe to pay $3,000, $4,000, up to $5,000 for this card. Well, in that video, I state this card is not rare by any stretch of the imagination, even stating that in PSA 10 condition, this card is nowhere near considered rare. And lo and behold, a lot of the Timmies, Kimmies, and Poindexters came at me in the comment section with pitchforks and torches drawn, telling me, Sean, you don't know what you're talking about. There's only 388 copies of that card, not total, in PSA 10 condition alone, not counting for what's sitting in factory sealed booster boxes and packs in someone's basement storage unit, safety deposit box, and the like. And a lot of these individuals think that because there's only 388 copies of that card in PSA 10 condition out there, they consider it to be quote unquote rare. I'm sorry to say, this particular item is selling for that much of a premium on the secondary market simply because it is in demand, not rare. Case in point, let's look at comic books right now. A lot of you guys love when I give you my opinion on the amount of certain collectibles, third-party graded collectibles that are on the market, how many are out there, and whether or not I think it's a good investment or whether or not I consider it rare versus in demand, what I think about those particular items. So we're going to look at some comic books in this video that are all popular comic books. They are all graded by CGC. Even if you don't know the vintage comic book marketplace, I'm sure that you will recognize some of these titles and you'll be able to follow along and understand my point that a lot of the Timmies, Kimmies, and Poindexters do not understand the difference between true rarity and that of an item that is simply in demand and selling for a premium. So we're going to look at a couple of different comic books right now. The first comic book we're going to look at is a Detective Comics 27 and also an Action Comics 1. Now, both of these books, in any condition you can find them in, meet my definition of being a rare and sought-after item. Meaning, if you have a copy of Action Comics 1, Detective Comics 27, it's original, it's verified, it's graded by CGC, you, my friend, have a truly rare artifact, in my opinion. Now, let's give you my analysis as to why I think that is 100% true. There are 78 copies available of Detective Comics 27 out there that have been graded by CGC. 37 of them are in universal grade, and 39 of them are in restored condition. The highest graded copy that exists out there in the open market is in 9.2 condition. Now, when we talk about Action Comics 1, there are also 78 copies out there, according to Go Collect. The highest 2 condition copies on the overall market are in 9.0 condition. Out of that 78 copies that are available, 44 are in universal grade and 30 have been restored. Those 2 books that I just mentioned, they meet my definition of being rare. Now, let's pretty much switch to the other end of the spectrum, and let's talk about Amazing Spider-Man 300 and Incredible Hulk 181. Amazing Spider-Man 300. This particular book, there are 35,856 copies graded by CGC at present time. There are 10 copies in 9.9 condition alone, and there are 1,546 copies in 9.8 condition alone. This book, in my opinion, is a Timmy trap. Now, if you bought this particular book prior to the pandemic and you took my advice, you sold into the hype, you did very well investing in this book because you were able to let it go when the speculative bubble took hold and people were paying a premium for this particular stuff. Now, a question I get asked a lot, Sean, I know you don't like Amazing Spider-Man 300, but don't you consider this book rare in 9.9 condition because there's only 10 copies out there on the market? Well, the problem is that's called conditional rarity. I don't like conditional rarity. I like absolute rarity. So if it was me, I would rather spend the money, if you can afford it, on a lower grade copy of Detective Comics 27 or Action Comics 1. I would not waste my time with an Amazing Spider-Man 300 in CGC 9.9 condition, because here's the truth about conditionally rare items. They are also very volatile from a financial investment perspective. This is why I do so many videos warning you guys about how much is an Incredible Hulk 181 graded by CGC in 9.8 condition actually worth. If you look at the past sales history of that particular book, it's all over the place. It's because a lot of people consider that to be a conditionally rare item. Now, in all actuality, it's not, because if we look at the numbers of Incredible Hulk 181s, I hate to tell you this, CGC graded a total of 17,655 copies of that book, according to Go Collect. And there is one in 9.9 condition, and there are 144 in 9.8 condition. I am sorry, that book, even in 9.8 condition, is not rare. Now, let me talk about certain books that are what I consider to be scarce, sometimes due to their condition, other times just generally due to the fact that they don't come up for sale quite often. If we look at a House of Secrets 92, one of my favorite DC Bronze Age keys, CGC has graded a total of 3,437 copies of this book. There are 3 in 9.8 condition, there are 31 in 9.6 condition, there are 46 in 9.4 condition, and there are 74 in 9.2 condition. The optimal collecting grade for this particular book is in 9.2 condition. Because right now, if you're going after that book in 9.2 condition, you could probably get a copy for a little under $8,000 to $9,000 roughly. If you're going to buy that book in 9.4 condition, it's going to cost you over double that particular price. So the optimal collecting grade for a House of Secrets 92 is in 9.2 condition. in my opinion, you are much better off buying a House of Secrets 92 in CGC 9.2 condition than going after an Amazing Spider-Man 300 in 9.8 condition, or heaven forbid, an Incredible Hulk 181 in 9.2 or 9.4 condition. Now let's talk about another one of my favorite books, and you guys know I love Batman. A Batman 227. DC comic book keys are usually scarcer, in most cases, with few exceptions, than their Marvel counterparts. There are 2,343 copies of Batman 227 graded by CGC. There are 9 copies in 9.8 condition. There are 23 copies in 9.6 condition. There are 55 copies in 9.4 condition, and there are 49 copies in 9.2. Now, in my opinion, if I was going to buy this book, I would attempt to get it in 9.6 condition, simply because if you look at the breakdown of prices between a 9.2, a 9.4, and a 9.6 at the time that we're recording this video in the beginning of 2024, a 9.2 is going to set you back roughly $4,000, maybe $4,100. A 9.6 is going to only set you back about $6,000. And in most cases, you could probably get it for a little under $6,000. You could probably get it for $5,700, $5,800. That, my friend, is a steal to get this book. You do not have to pay a premium for this book. Overall, this is a scarce book in high grade. Again, it is conditionally rare, but look at the numbers. Compared to what you're buying, a book like this versus an Amazing Spider-Man 300 or an Incredible Hulk 181. Do you guys understand, just in the 17 minutes that I've been talking right now, the difference between a truly rare item and an in-demand item? Do you guys also understand the way I invest in comic books and related pop culture collectibles is obviously a lot different than how the Timmies, Kimmies, and Poindexters out there attempt to invest in these items, because they always tend to go after the wrong items, and they always buy them at the wrong time, and they always overpay for these items. For instance, how many of you out there bought a copy of Werewolf by Night 32 during the time that Disney announced that there's going to be a limited series on Moon Knight? If you guys did that, you do not know how to invest in the antiques and collectibles trade properly. You are investing in reverse. You are a starry-eyed speculator. Please learn these core concepts. I'm sick of having to do videos like this every 8 to 12 months because Timmies come into my comment section and they do not understand stuff that I've already taught years ago on this channel. If you go back and you watch some of my earlier videos, you are going to understand all of these core concepts. If you don't want to take my word as being truth or gospel, simply go back and watch some of the videos where I tell you what books you should be reading on the overall antiques and collectibles trade if you want to learn about how these markets work, and you will get a different perspective entirely. But just know, I agree with the individuals that wrote those books because they're preaching the same thing that I'm preaching on this YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you got something out of this. And one more thing, if you made it to the end of this video, if you do want to see me do more videos on antiques, on more esoteric items like Target balls and the like, let me know that in the comment section below. I do like to do videos on items like this, but I do know they don't get nearly enough views when I talk about Pokemon or Nintendo or whatever it is. Thank you for watching and have a great night.